yo, it's your girl Lex, of course, checking in with the hottest podcast in the city. That's right, and that's Boss Talk with Lex. Today, I have a very special guest. That's right, that's on. I have Miss Tammy Capri in the building.
Hey, girl.
That's right, guys. And I'm going to let Miss Tammy introduce herself so you guys can, get a input. Who is Tammy and what she stands for?
Yes. Well, first and foremost, thank you for having me. I am Tammy Capri, the mompreneur mentor. I am a serial CEO, serial entrepreneur. I have a few brands. I'm the host of a podcast, the Boss Mom Huddle. I am the CEO and founder of the brand Liche Capri, which stands for Love's Energy Can Control Everything. And it's a luxury designer handbag brand on the rise. And I'm also co-owners with a brand, Traveling with the Nurses, where we, travel. We assist people with their travel needs. Right. And we also have a trucking company, Matika Express. Yes.
Okay.
So we're just doing it. I originally started off as an author. That's my first love. So I'm still author and publisher. So we got quite a few things going on. But I am here. I'm here on Boss Talk.
Amazing. Love that. And you heard that from Tammy herself. And guys, also you can look at her Instagram, Tammy Capri _, and you can follow her and, get inspired, get motivated, follow her entrepreneurship, her journey, and her mompreneurship as well. So I'm glad to have you on today as a guest. So let's get into it today. Yes. So I want to know, what got you into being an author?
Ooh, all right, we got enough time.
Yeah.
Girl, all right, so my author journey started years ago. I was in a very toxic marriage, a very bad situation. It didn't start off that way, but I essentially started writing books. I've always loved books. I've always loved creating things. I'm a lover of the visual arts, anything that you can express yourself. That was me. But I started actually writing books when I found that I was escaping my own reality. So when I would create characters, it was based off of who I wanted to be or how I wanted my life to be. When I was just piecing together, I would forget about everything that I was going through with my ex-husband. So it eventually turned into a full-blown novel. And when I let the first person read it, they was like, you really should do something with this. I'm like, okay. We can do that. And it just really went from there. My first book, when I published my own first book.
Wow, that's amazing.
It is amazing, but let me tell you, the readers chewed me up. I did not know about the author world, publishing world back then. I didn't know everything that, the steps you were really supposed to take. I knew I had a good product. I'm going to put this out to the world. I'm going to skip a few steps, which I did. I didn't get it professionally edited, and I had to learn the hard way. The only thing that really saved me was it was a good storyline. And that was a lot that I was hearing from the readers. This story is dope, but you need a better editor. But despite all of that, I ended up selling 20 copies of my first book. 20,000 copies, of my first book. So it still did pretty good in spite of, not being well edited. But it was a lesson learned. I ended up pulling it off the shelf, getting it professionally edited, and then reintroducing it to the world after that.
Love it. So is that called the bounce back after the divorce?
No, so the bounce back after the divorce is, my first book was called Loyalty. It's a fiction book. Yeah, I have over a dozen novels that I've written, and I've published over 63 because we had a whole publishing company.
Amazing.
Yeah,
real black girl magic.
Yeah, real black girl. That led to New Class Publications.
Okay.
So I signed on authors. So I had over 27 authors in my company, full-blown entrepreneur. That was back when I said God introduced me to success when I wasn't ready.
Right.
When I was not ready. I didn't know how to handle how it was coming. A lot of mistakes I made, and I had to learn the hard way to where, life changed and I lost everything. So, but no, the bounce back after divorce is coming out in 2025. That's the one we're gearing up for.
That's what you gear. Okay.
Yeah, that's my autobiography.
Okay. Can you give us a little intake on what's that?
Well, so my ex-husband, he's known. He was signed to No Limit. And when I met him, C Murder had just got locked up and Master P had sent everybody home. And when he first told me that story, I'm like, yeah, right, you ain't signed with no damn No Limit. Like, what? Like, all right.
Right. You know, we be in Cap City.
Right. But then I'm like, okay, as I got to know him, and then his cousin is actually my sorority sister. And she was like, no, my cousin, like, they were signed at a young age. And I was like, okay. So then I was never into down south music like that. I'm from Philly, so we was into like Jay-Z and Nas. But like, so Master P and Mystical, like all the down south, I wasn't really too familiar until I met him. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so yeah, that part of it was all good. And then I had my first son, and we were starting our own little family. But then life started lifing. He fell into a crazy depression after P wasn't bringing nobody back. And you know, sometimes it's hard for people to accept that when you're trying to fight for this dream, sometimes that season has passed.
Right.
And I know I used to tell him, yo, we got a son now. Like, you have connections, you have the knowledge. Focus that on your son. You can essentially have the next little Romeo on your hands if you develop him. But he was so focused on getting his success back, where I think it really killed him internally, so to speak. Then he started the jealousy started coming. Wow. When I written my first book, now, thanks to him, I was able to quit my job back then to write full time. So he was the reason I was able to do that. But on the flip side, I did see a lot of the jealousy and the envious come out when I started being more successful in writing. Like, I did book tours, and I started actually having people that was supporting me, and it was growing. And he was still trying to fight for that limelight to the point where he wasn't even supporting me to a certain extent. Then that went on to, you know, then the mental things start happening, and then the crazy toxic stuff start happening. And then eventually he had got into an accident, got hurt, had surgery, and then got hooked on pain meds. And then that's when my life really took a turn for the worse. Wow. It was crazy. It's a part of my life that I had to heal from. I had to go to therapy for. It was crazy. It was crazy. So, but that's what the bounce back after divorce is about. How do you climb out of the situations? How do you find yourself again? And most importantly, how do you continue a momentum, or how do you still step in your purpose after experiencing all that? Because it's a lot. It is a lot to deal with when you experience traumatic stuff, losses, and just whole life changes. And you want to give up, you know? And especially if you feel like you're in it by yourself. And that's essentially why I created the Boss Mom Huddle as well. So,
wow, amazing. Love this story. Often in life, we don't understand, like, losses is part of life lessons, you know? And those are things that we have to go through in order to, you know, go to that next level.
Absolutely.
Was you in your relationship for a long time? Was it years, months?
Yeah. So we married in 2011.
Okay.
And our divorce was final in 2017.
Okay. Yeah. Now, how long did it take you before you actually got back into, you know, feeling yourself ready to date again? Because I know you had to be probably traumatized behind that. Because I would have been, you know.
So, all right. So I filed for divorce twice. The first time I filed for divorce, I only had 2 children. But at that time we were, all right, I'm gonna work it out. I'm gonna go to rehab. I'm gonna work on my family. And I believed it, and it didn't happen. But then I ended up getting pregnant with my daughter. And I didn't know I was pregnant with my daughter until I was over 6 months. Like, when I tell you I didn't have no symptoms, no signs, I blacked out one time and went to the hospital. And that's when they told me, they're like, Miss King, you're pregnant. I'm like, pregnant?
What? Like, you said 6 months?
I was in my second trimester.
I probably would have fell back out again.
Girl, yes, I wasn't expecting it. So when I found out that news, I just put everything on hold. put everything on hold. And I'm like, I want to bring this baby into the world. Don't want to have to worry about anything. And when I finally filed for divorce the second time, my daughter was a little over 1. And it took me a minute to even want to date again after that, because I'm like, if I get into another situation, get married again, go through all this again, like I couldn't even see myself being in another relationship at that point. Like, I hated the idea of being with somebody, being married. Like, he really took my life. This is how I was feeling at the time. He really took my life and played with it. Like, and you didn't understand, like, the real, sincere person that you got on your side right now. You really played with me. So I didn't trust getting into a relationship. So it took some therapy. It took some time. It took finding me again. And I know right after my divorce, I was just like, all right, I'm going to live a little. I'm going to go out on some dates. I ain't going to care about no, I'm going to do me.
Right. Because you've been hurt.
This one and that one. And okay, yeah, that's how it's going to be for that year. Because I was just, no. I was like.
Because your heart sometimes be so cold. Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, I just couldn't believe it was me that was going through that. But it took some time. The right one eventually came along, and he was persistent. He had to show me that he was serious, that he was about the family life. He was about growing. He was about the children. And like, it took some time. And I'm not even going to lie. Like, even to up and just recently, like, you still have those questions. Like, is this really the one? Are we going to go through this again? But I mean, it all comes with growth and time. I just know I cannot, the next time I'm married, I cannot get a divorce. Like, that's it. Like, when we marry, that's it.
It's till death do us part.
Yeah, till death do us part. That's the name of one of my books too.
Wow, love that. Till death do us part. So how do you take your heartbreak and transform it into your success, like a part of your success? Like, the heartbreak that you've experienced, like, what made you realize, like, okay, I went through this, I went through that, but I'm not going to let it break me. I'm not going to let it kill me. I'm not going to let it tear me down. What made you,
A few things. One of which, it was my children, of course.
Yeah. Those kids.
Those, like, you ain't got no choice but to bounce back when it comes to them, because they didn't ask to be here. And I know I told my mama that, like, when I had my first son, like, this was the first time I've ever felt love more than myself. Like, I felt I can love somebody more than I love myself. I would literally lay my life down for this little baby. Like, so that feeling alone is like, I'm going to go hard no matter what. So them, and then just the support that I was getting, because at the time I had books out, like, I had supporters. The support that I was getting from them, and the feedback that I was getting, because the day that I decided to be transparent about my story, I was getting inboxes and DMs. And this was back when Instagram what it is now. Like, they didn't have, like, the whole video. They had some videos, but they were just starting. People would send messages on Facebook and on Instagram, like, I can't believe you're going through this. I went through this too. And I'm talking about strangers. So I was like, oh, okay. So that's when I knew sharing my story was helping other people. And they were giving me my motivation back to get back up and get it, because they were just so uplifting. Strangers were just like, yo, you got this. Like, don't worry about it. Like, you need anything, I'm here. And I'm like, okay. So, like, I hear you, God. But those are the two things that really motivated me to get back in the game, to show you, like, your story don't end here. Right. Anything you go through, your story doesn't stop there. Like, it's always another chapter to your story. Yeah.
Love that. It's so inspirational. Now, with being an author, I'm big on marketing. I'm big on branding. What steps, and because I know it's viewers, it's guests, it's watching us, and they want to know, like, I'm writing a book. I want to know what steps do it take to help me get my book out there, to get it published. What steps did you actually take when you went that route, like marketing tools and things like that?
Absolutely. So again, when I first started out, I was so young and immature to the game, but over the years I've learned. So the first step is to know, I would say, to know what genre you want to write in. Know what message it is you want to get out there, and what do you want the biggest takeaway to be for your readers. You have to find out that first. And then secondly is treat everything like it is a real business. You're going to write your story as if you're the only one that's going to read it, right?
Exactly.
But you're going to publish it as if the world is going to read it. Meaning, I'm going to write it. It's so sacred to me, almost as if you're like writing in a journal, right?
Right.
No one is going to see it. Be 100% honest, transparent, authentic, genuine. Those are the stories that people really want to read. There's no fluff. You know, I can express and I can tell my journal things that the world may not know, but they want to read it. But when I'm publishing it, do it 100% professional. You want to get professional editors. You want to get professional graphic designers. You want to get professional marketing. And if you can't afford it, word of mouth is your biggest point of marketing. Right. Word of mouth is if you can follow all those steps. And we have our writers course coming up too. So stay tuned for that. The Writers 101 where we are walking authors, aspiring authors through the writing process.
That's good.
But yeah, just professional all the way. Don't skip no steps when it comes to publishing your book. But there's a lot behind publishing the book now. There's a lot behind it. So
yeah, because we're in a generation, I know everybody is DIY, do it yourself. Yeah. You know, everybody feel like I can do everything, you know, myself. And you know, don't get me wrong, you know, we got social media now that teaches and, you know, allows us to watch and see everything and make it, you know, easier. For this generation, when I grew up, half of the stuff
it was foot to the pedal to the metal. You had to beat the groundwork. Like you really had to find
and word of mouth was the number one thing. That's why I was like, you know, passing out cards and flyers and things like that. That's what I'm used to,
right?
You know, so when I often in my DMs get asked the question, "What would you do if social media shuts down today?" You know, I've learned one thing in life, like, I need to pray more than I post because I'm not depending on social media to take me to the next level.
Right.
My faith is in nobody but God. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not depending on anyone to just take me to that next level except for God. Because if I take my eye off the prize, I'll never get the prize. And you know, my eyes constantly stay on Him. So how do you actually feel like social media? Do you feel like it? Instagram and you know we got TikTok now, you know.
Yeah.
Does it help your brand more or is it, you know?
I will say this. I will not discredit social media only because now you have the world at your fingertips.
Right. You definitely do.
You have the world at your fingertips, but you don't have the world at your fingertips. Right. You know, Instagram, the algorithm, all that stuff. But if you I find that if you are strategic about it, now it has helped me. I don't have a huge following, but it has helped me reach core audiences, right? And it helps them keep up with what I'm doing. But because I know it's not guaranteed, we don't own social media.
Exactly.
Like the whole TikTok thing, you know, they about to take that away. Yep. It made me be smarter about my audience and my communities. So I am, you know, funneling them through leads to get their emails so that way I can email them directly. I am sending them to, and we are going to be starting our own app in our own community soon. So we're pulling them off of social media. That's the goal. Find them on social media and pull them off of social media. Because at any given time, you know,
it can shut down, right?
Just a few years ago, not even a few, but not a long time, but we had Vine and Black Planet and all those other ones that are not here anymore. In 10 years, we may not have Facebook. We may not have Instagram. So it helps for the season. It's useful for what it is, but I don't rely on it. I will talk to strangers walking down the street. Hey, girl, you a mom? That's my favorite. I ask you that. Like, you a mom?
Right, a mom.
That's my first question. I would ask anybody, are you a mom? And I would let them know, hey, listen, this is what we got going on. Tune in if you know what I'm saying? Like that is my, like, I'm with you from the old school. I will talk, hit the ground, flyers, but yeah, it helps, but I don't rely on it.
Right. Definitely love that. Can you explain or give some advice on how like mental health issues or issues that you've experienced with mental health as an entrepreneur, like what route did you go? Like if you experienced mental health issues, or how do you handle it by being a mompreneur, entrepreneur?
Girl, I cry. I cry. No, seriously though, no, I do cry. There are moments when I just, ooh, like okay, but I pray, and
Right.
recently I have been on this whole strengthening my spiritual relationship with God, and to the point that we've been in Georgia since 21. We recently joined a church home. Like I said, we need that covering. We need it. It's a lot going on. I need to get back into. We got to get the kids back into it. So I've been really just trying to strengthen my relationship with God and understanding the purpose He has for me, and knowing that through that is going to come with some things. You're gonna get stressed. You're gonna feel depressed. You're going to feel like it's not working. You're going to go through those times because your business is not always going to make money.
Exactly.
You know, especially in different industries got different seasons, right? But just knowing that He's not going to put you in a place and not have a plan for you, these are our tests of faith. Like, so I just try to stay grounded in my faith. Now I do fall off and I do start thinking the enemy will play on my mind.
Yeah,
he will play.
That's what he come to do: steal, kill, and destroy.
Exactly.
Exactly.
But it's up to me to keep myself around those people that's going to help keep me focused. And anytime I get off focus or anytime the enemy start to play, God always have something, an answer, something intervenes, and it's just about just being obedient and hearing His word. So. Mental health issues, they're going to come. You may feel depressed. I mean, everybody's different, but for me, I got to stay prayed up. I got to make sure, I'm around good people. I need to hear the affirmations. I need to tell myself the affirmations, and it's going to be okay. Like, and embracing the lows as well as the highs.
Right.
And that's all what it is.
Love it. What's been your hardest as an entrepreneur? Because I'm an entrepreneur as well. I mean, we go through a lot. You know that. I mean, we go having fake people around us. Fake people got grudges that we don't even know. I mean, a lot of fake love sometimes. Yes. As an entrepreneur, what's been your hardest journey, like, that you would say that you went through, like, as an entrepreneur, that you wanted to be like, I'm just gonna throw in the towels, I just want to give it up, like?
Yeah. Okay, so there were a few moments. The one that stands out the most is when I had to go back to work the first time. So
was that during the pandemic?
No, this was before the pandemic. This was when, because remember, with my ex-husband, I was able to quit my job and write full time, and we built our publishing company up to where, like, our highest months we were making $25,000 and $30,000 a month. Right. So it was like, all right, we can do this.
Definitely.
But then
with those numbers, you can do it.
But then when the low hit, because I wasn't just writing books back then. So I was writing books, I had authors, and I was also teaching a graphic design class. So I had tapped into the different lanes so that way I started teaching to authors who wanted to do it themselves. And then I started designing book covers for a lot of the big authors today. Wow. And a lot of them were are you familiar with Carl Weber and Urban Books?
No, I'm not.
So he has
I'm
the
not
family
a big
business.
book reader, but that's something that I want to get more into.
Okay. Well, Urban Books is like the biggest urban book distributor that is out there. Like, everybody from, and if you're not sure, but some of your listeners are probably familiar with, like, Ashley Antoinette and Quan, like, they were all with Carl Weber. So I tapped in with a few of his authors, and I started designing book covers and marketing stuff for them, and we were making bank. But then when it hit, and when he started effing up the money, and we had real estate at that time too, I had to go back to work because he fell really hard on drugs. And he started stealing from, like, our money, and then we were getting sued by tenants, and then the books weren't selling because I was distracted, and I was like, all right, it got low to the point where I had to go back to work. Wow. I had to go. So that was a surreal moment. It's like, how can you give me all this and then take it all away?
Right. I see a lot of your experiences, as we sit and talk, like, you've been around, a few people, I wouldn't say a lot, but a few people that had, like, drug addictions. How do you take that, or did any of that rub off on you? Because some people say, oh, I only started doing this because I seen this person.
Yeah.
So did that affect you in any type of way to make you even want to try it, or it made you like realize like, well, I don't even want to be a part of none of this?
I used to smoke weed. I used to smoke weed a lot. And that's when I was writing my best stories, like, but any hard street drugs, heck no. I was always afraid. So my mama, she
our parents was definitely scared of us. Listen, talking about
my mama, and she probably gonna kick my butt when she sees this, because and it's a funny story. I recently posted something not too long ago, and I shown some light on her drug addiction. And then people was calling her, was like, girl, you was on this. Girl. She was like, your daughter done posted. And she calling me. She's like, why would you? She was like, no, it's a part of your story. Go ahead. And
right.
I was like, I didn't even realize how it would affect you. I'm sorry. But she's okay with it now. But even when it comes to her, like when she was smoking cigarettes, when I was a child, it used to disgust me so much. I was like, I would never smoke a cigarette. And then when she got on the hard drugs, like she was a functional addict. Like she would get up, go to work every day, and she was on cocaine. And I seen my mama come to my house like high sometimes and didn't know who she was, where she was at. Her friends would bring her to me, and I'm like, yo, something gotta give. And my dad's side of the family, we just had a death in our family. A few of them on my dad's side. A lot of them were on had real bad addiction. So just knowing that and seeing that and knowing how like it was easy probably to get to me, like I was afraid of it. So I stayed away. I was scared to try anything harder than marijuana. But no, it made me terrified of it, to the point where I told my mom, like, if you don't get yourself together, you will not be able to see your grandchildren. And that's what it was. And she's like, okay, that was enough for her. So that's why I couldn't understand why it wasn't enough for my ex-husband to get his life together, because I gave him that same ultimatum: get yourself together or you won't have your kids. And unfortunately it didn't work for that, but it never made me want to try, or I just felt bad. I felt sorry. I'm like, yo, they need help, because these are demons. These are really demons after these people. And yeah, it's unfortunate.
Right. But the crazy thing about it is all of us have to go through, we have to go through life like struggles, which equals strength, what makes us like stronger, makes us want to keep pushing, makes us bolder, makes us, I got a reason to keep going. I don't need to look back. As an entrepreneur, if it's anything that you could give the audience advice to as entrepreneurship, because, this generation that we're in now, everybody looks at a painted picture and thinks that, oh, I can be an entrepreneur, or I don't need to go to college. I don't need everybody, not saying that, people can't, because it can happen, especially in this generation. But if it's so many chiefs out here, and that's what we got. We got a lot of chiefs. Everybody want to be a chief right away, and not enough Indians. Everybody, even when I talk to young people that come to my class, I want to be a social media influencer. Is that your career? Is that your goal? It got to be something more. What advice could you give them, like, for entrepreneurship to take and to use?
You hit it right on the nose. Never stop being an Indian. Never stop being an Indian. Right. I don't care how high or how much success or how popular you get.
Exactly.
A friend of mine, D Cooper, she has a very successful trucking company, and I know we were having a conversation, and she was saying if your coach don't have a coach, get a new coach. Meaning you're going to learn from people continuously.
Exactly.
It never ends.
Yes.
So even when you go to learn from somebody to become a chief, if your chief don't have a chief that they're learning from, you need a new chief. Because the learning never stops. That, like, never stop being an Indian. Yeah. That, and then always remember to give yourself grace. Always remember to give yourself grace, because it's going to be ups, it's going to be downs. You're going to be hard on yourself. You're going to want to give up. You're not going to be happy with how you're looking. You're going to be comparing yourself, and just give yourself grace. It is your journey. And I could give a whole bunch of advice as far as
right.
But the main key things is, like, never stop being a student of the game. Never stop.
And that's the best advice that you can give anyone, especially as entrepreneurship, because everyone wants to be their own entrepreneur. We're in a generation, nobody wants to work a 9 to 5.
Right.
And I meet people all the time that works a 9 to 5 and still makes over 6 figures,
Yes.
So don't think a 9 to 5. That's why I don't think it's bad to work a 9 to 5, and everybody can't understand the weight of an entrepreneur, the weight of the world, because when it weighs down on you, sometimes all you're doing is looking down, and the weight of the world can actually seem to be heavy.
Right.
I often tell people all the time, like, do you not actually know you can only go and grow as high as you talk?
Mm-hmm.
So when it's time to elevate or take your brand or take whatever you're doing to that next level, you have to speak it really into existence. The tongue is the most powerful thing.
Mm-hmm.
A tongue can hurt you.
Girl, yes.
It can break you. It can also help you. Yep. That's why I've learned, one of my quotes my mom always told me, the life lies in the power in the tongue. Mm-hmm. Like the tongue is one of the most powerful things, and sometimes you can say words that you can't take. You can't take it back.
And especially if you are throwing daggers, especially if you have to really be careful of what you say. Cause I mean, when you're hurt or when you're being emotional or when something's going on, like we tend to say things. We're all human.
Exactly.
But the beauty and growth is that you learn to control those things and you really analyze how are you truly feeling. Because if you my homegirl, or if you my man, if you my mama, and we've been rocking, and I know that like you will never do me no harm, I'm gonna be careful with you. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be careful because I will let you know, like, yo, ma, like that hurt. You hurt my feelings. Like, but I'm not gonna say nothing that I can't take back and that I truly don't mean, because that may stick with her. And you never know, what you say to somebody may just be that last straw to have them jumping over the edge.
Yep.
And right. I would never want that on my conscience. I would never want that for anybody. So yeah, the tongue is powerful. So you got to speak life. Always speak life, and not death.
Because you can curse yourself by just the words that you speak and the things that you actually say.
The enemy's listening to the God hears you, but the enemy hears you too. So that's how he knows how to play.
Yeah, that's why
play on everything.
The devil blesses too. That's a lot of people don't know. They think they can brag on this or brag on that. Like, you don't know. The devil also sends out blessings too.
Absolutely.
And that's what confuses you. And that's why when you pray, you have to confuse the enemy when you're praying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And just to touch on one thing really quickly, I think that we touched on it. You were talking about 9 to 5. For entrepreneurs that are working out there or they hustling, they're grinding, you have to realize at some point you're going to build your business off of your 9 to 5.
Exactly.
And I think that's what people are missing. And there was just a situation recently, because like I said, I had to go back and work a few times. When we first moved down to Georgia, my plan wasn't to work. I was going to focus on my business. I was just going to, I had just sold my properties up there, and it was a seller's market. So I was good. Going to come down here and chill. But then a job just happened to really fall in my lap, because I was like, I didn't apply for this job. But I said, you know what? I'm going to go to Georgia. I'm going to do this job. And because you never know, like, we were moving down here without any support. So you never know what was to come. And It's a new market. I don't have, like, up there I was on fashion shows. I had in-person events. I had people coming out, so I was making money. So down here it's like I'm starting all over. So don't be opposed to doing a 9 to 5, because it's going to help you elevate your business. And when it's time to move on, it will. Because, like, my job, like, when I praying about when is the right time to leave my job and contemplating the right time to leave my job pulled me into an office and basically saying, okay, we got to let you go, in so many words. I'm like, oh, okay. So God will let you know when it's time to move on from your 9 to 5. But don't be opposed to a 9 to 5, because building your own business ain't easy. That money ain't always gonna be consistent.
It ain't always
gonna be consistent. So.
Definitely not. I love it. You was amazing to have on.
Thank you.
I promise this time with my podcast, everybody always say, you always, get the guests to give a word of advice to, us. Leave us with a word of advice. A word of advice I can actually let you guys know as going through entrepreneurship and, going through when life and, you go through just so much trials and tribulations of life. What I can let you guys know is everybody is for themselves and God is for us all. And that's Boss Talk with Lex. I appreciate you guys for watching today.
Yeah.